Hi, welcome back to my channel, Self-Care Aware. Thank you for watching. Today's video is called Mental Health 101. I want to talk about mental health today because, first, I'm a licensed professional counselor and this is my area of formal training, and I care about mental health and wellness. When I talk about mental health, I like to think of it on a continuum. On this end of the continuum is wellness. It is someone who's managing their mental health well. They are taking steps to protect themselves, to pay attention to their thought life, to generate positive feelings, to take care of their physical health because we know that impacts their mental health. These people are bouncing back from stress that comes up in their life, and they're doing well. On this other continuum over here is illness. And this is when people are not able to cope with the stress and the events that are occurring in their life. Their symptoms are not being managed well, and it's causing them a lot of problems. And that can be mental health problems, it can be physical problems, and even social problems. So that might be someone who's experiencing an illness. Acknowledge where you're at on the continuum. And we're always wanting to move over toward the wellness side. So even when we're over here at the most extreme, how can we get ourselves over here, and then toward wellness? Maybe we spend a lot of our time right over here, a little bit leaning toward the illness side because we're just not managing things very well. Things are feeling like they're mounting up. It's one thing on top of one thing on top of one thing. There's many layers, and it's just really hard for us to cope right now. Well, there are interventions that we can put into place, and then we can recover from that, and we move ourselves over to this end of the wellness spectrum. So think about it in terms of just mental health. You're just talking about basically from the neck up, right? Our brain, our memories, our perceptions, our thoughts, our intellect, how we learn, how we keep information, how we recall it, and how we use it. So our thinking impacts how we feel. Our feelings generate a response from us, if those feelings are positive or negative. And then we choose a behavior to address the feeling that was generated from the thought. So it's all very connected. Oftentimes, though, people don't make those connections, and they feel a certain way, then they behave, and they don't even trace it back to the original thought. All right, so your mental health is impacted by the work that you do to help other people. And here's how. Post-traumatic stress is a group of symptoms that really point to someone developing the post-traumatic stress disorder. It may not reach the exact criteria for someone to be formally diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, but they may have enough of the symptoms that it is causing them impairment in their life. So it can be a real or perceived threat that you have experienced or witnessed that worries you and makes you feel like your safety, your life, and your well-being has been threatened. Now, I want to talk about vicarious trauma. Vicarious trauma is a term that refers to how the person who is helping did not experience the trauma themselves, but because they're helping someone who did, and they're hearing it, they're seeing it, they're reading about it, they are aware of it, they experience some of the same symptoms because of who they're helping and what that person is going through. Some of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress are physical pain, fatigue, stomach aches, headaches. You have a flashback. Something reminds you of it, a scent, a sound, a person who looks like someone who was involved in that. a similar situation and circumstance that makes you feel like you're right back to that thing again. So flashbacks and being triggered and having nightmares and not being able to sleep at night without the memory coming back over and over again. Depression, sadness, hopelessness, feeling down. Anxiety, which is fear, worry. Avoidance is a common symptom of post-traumatic stress. So this is where you are intentionally trying to avoid the situation, a situation that is similar, a circumstance that feels familiar, a person who is related to that incident. And so you are actively trying to avoid having to deal with any of that or ever being exposed to it again. Sometimes we intentionally block and refuse to think about or talk about or go there, right? People ask us or people want to talk about it and we shut it down quickly. We walk away from it. We refuse to go there. That is a way that you're blocking and repressing the memory of those events, and that also blocks the healing, and it blocks the opportunity to change the thoughts and the feelings and the behavior connected to that. The next symptom is numbing and detachment. This one is a bit hard for me as a professional because you do get desensitized. All of us do. Over and over again, you're exposed to things and you get into the mode of handling a problem, documenting the problem, moving on to the next problem. We kind of get into the routine of it and we forget to have the human emotion connected to it. And on one hand, that helps us make decisions that are rational and not emotional, and it helps us think through processes and handle circumstances in a way that can be very diplomatic. But on the other hand, it's unhealthy over the long run if we are constantly numbing ourselves to that. Then we lose touch. We lose touch of the human experience. We lose touch of why we're even a helping professional in the first place. Through that process, we disconnect with the people that we serve. Hyperarousal. This is another one that is really interesting because sometimes we don't even notice it until someone points it out. Because when we're hyper-aroused, we're going to be fidgety, jumpy, restless. We're always expecting the worst thing to happen and, okay, what's next? The symptom that I want to talk about with post-traumatic stress is guilt and shame. These two are so heavy and make us feel very uncomfortable. And we often begin to internalize quite a bit. With the guilt and shame also comes the depression. In my professional experience and personal experience, I see those two very connected to one another. When you feel guilty that you didn't do enough, that you didn't do it right, was there something I should have done different? Could I have prevented that? Why didn't I do this? What if I could have done this? Should I have done that? And you do that to yourself over and over and over again, it is so unhealthy. So those are the symptoms of post-traumatic stress and what they might feel like for you or how other people in your life might start to notice it and comment about them. So I encourage you to think about your own mental health. Think about the things in your work life that have impacted your mental health, and are you experiencing any of those post-traumatic stress symptoms? If so, it's normal. It's normal for people in a helping profession to feel those feelings and to have those symptoms. If you have a family history of diabetes or hypertension, you usually talk to family members about that. You research what the warning signs are. You kind of have dialogue about how that person journeyed through that illness. And you know if that's in your family history, then you are at risk for developing that yourself. Well, in a helping profession, our family history is that we might be at risk of developing post-traumatic stress. So I'm going to consider you a member of my helping professional family, and I'm going to say, in our family history, we are at risk of developing post-traumatic stress. So know the symptoms. Subscribe to this channel so that you can be notified when our videos are uploaded every Wednesday. And go ahead and help yourself.